So on today's program, we're going to learn about the City of Quincy's Communications Access Plan, and there's a survey that's taking place this week, actually, to launch that program. So we are joined today by Melissa Pond of the Quincy Planning Department, the City Council President, at-large Councilor Nina Lang, and also representatives from the Barrett Planning Group who are helping the city with this effort. So, ladies, welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for spending some time. Really appreciate the opportunity to learn more about this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
We should probably start, I guess, with Melissa, if you don't mind, to give us a little background on what this effort is, because quite honestly, it was the first time that I had heard of it when you and Nina reached out to me to talk about it.
Great. Thank you, Joe. Thank you for having us. So the City of Quincy Planning Department has had a communications access plan since 2008, and it was really time to reinvigorate that and bring it into the modern era. Update, we also didn't have anything about disabilities in that plan, and I think that's really important. And so we updated it to the extent that we could internally, and we needed more resources for it. It was something that Councilor Liang was very passionate about, and so we had spoken about it, and then we pulled in Barrett Planning Group through a request for qualifications process, and they have helped us and are doing a phenomenal job of doing extended research on what other communities are doing across the country to address matters of communications access for persons with limited English proficiency and or persons with disabilities. And right now we're conducting interviews with a number of city staff across all various departments. And we started those on Thursday and continuing through tomorrow. And I've been really encouraged by what I'm hearing from city staff that they're very interested in doing more, and they were also very positive about what they've already been doing to address these needs in the past. And we are also doing the survey, as you mentioned, and the survey went live officially on Friday, and we're trying to get the word out about that. Barrett Planning Group has made that a fully accessible survey to the best of their ability through SurveyMonkey, and has translated it with professional translators in 4 additional languages in addition to English. So we're very excited about this process. It's very comprehensive, and we look forward to seeing the final product of this document, where Barrett Planning Group will give recommendations to the city on how to improve our current communications access plan.
So what is the ultimate kind of goal of the plan when it comes to communications access? Is it for people with limited English and disabilities to better access city services and government? Is that the ultimate goal?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so what types of services and programs do they maybe have trouble accessing right now?
I think Nina could possibly speak to that, Councilor Liang, but this is really across all city channels is the ultimate goal. So that's why we're speaking with as many departments as we can. And would you like to speak to that, Councilor Liang?
Yeah, sure. So thank you also, Joe, for having us here and for talking about this. It's a really, really exciting project. And I just want to give kudos to Melissa and the planning department for essentially managing this project, right, for the city. And Melissa in particular, I mean, I don't know, I don't think she slept at all the last year since she's been working on this. This is a project that's deeply personal to her, and I just want to give her a quick shout out for everything that she's done to make this dream a reality. But, you know, as far as sort of the end goal, you know, I believe that, you know, it's, of course, access to the city services that we have here, right? I mean, if you take a look, you know, one of the things that we really prided ourselves on, particularly this last year, is that we didn't have to cut any of the city services, right? Because there are so many across the city that we want to make sure we can keep up. And I think that's one of the nice things about living here is that we have so many incredible services across so many different departments here in the city. And we want to make sure that everyone who calls Quincy home has access to those services, and that language is not going to be the impediment to getting them, right? And so in addition to that, you know, for me in particular, and why this project is important to me, is just, obviously growing up here in a family who some folks spoke English, some folks spoke limited English, some didn't at all. It's sort of an effort of the village, right, to make sure that things are translated as far as notices go, when there's a snow emergency, when trash pickup is being delayed, when there's a great event that's happening in the city, when there's a survey going out across the city, right, to participate in. I mean, there's so many things that happen here in the city on a day-to-day basis that's provided by the city, let alone all the different nonprofits, organizations like QATV, the library. So, the end goal is to make sure that all of those things are now accessible to those who, maybe English is a second language, right? Or for those who are hard of hearing and need to have, we need to have ADA compliance, making sure that there's cart services available at all of these kinds of events and community meetings in particular, right? Whether they're community meetings that are being held for, again, events, for projects, for planning board, zoning board, whatever it may be, city council meetings, right? There's so many things that happen across the city, and communication obviously is key in that, So to be able to have a solid plan on how each of the departments, all the nonprofits, all of these services in the city, how we can make sure that language is not a barrier, I think will be really helpful for us to be successful.
Can we talk a little bit about the survey and what is included in it, and how will that information be used to put this plan together?
Yeah, and I think that's a question I'm going to throw to Alexis from Barrett to talk specifically about the contents of the survey.
Sure.
Thank you. So as Melissa said, the survey that we have went live on Friday, and we actually have two versions of it. So it's one survey, but it splits into two different lines of questions, depending on if you are a Quincy resident who perhaps due to disability or language barrier may feel that your access to information may be limited in some way. And so the survey is trying to get answers to, what sorts of things have prohibited you from getting information or from conveying your needs to city staff. So going back to what you asked Melissa about, what sorts of city services are we talking about? Communication is the key for this plan, because we're hearing kind of different things from different departments who are all really clearly very committed to serving Quincy residents as best they can and in different ways, but they're going to have different needs depending on what services they deliver. So we're kind of, through the survey, asking not only about how they, if someone can communicate their needs to the city, but are they getting the information? Because communication is a two-way channel. So, and the 2020 update to the city's communication access plan does a good job of distinguishing those. It defines meaningful access and what that means for Quincy residents, regardless of their language barriers, regardless of whether they have a disability. And it clearly states the two-way nature of that Quincy residents should be able to receive communication, understand the communication, so that they can access any services that they're eligible for, but then also to be able to communicate their needs to the staff. So those are the sorts of questions we're asking in this survey. We're asking some general background questions. How long have you lived in Quincy? What languages are spoken in your home? Does anyone in your home have a disability? Do you have a disability? But then we also ask questions about, have you ever experienced the city being unable to meet your needs in some way due to a communication barrier? And we leave it as kind of an open response option for people who do feel that they have had an issue in that area. And, we have further we're going to be working further with the professional translators we worked with for the first part to help us translate anything that comes in, because it is that portion of the survey is meant to be an open response. And then the second kind of path of questions for the survey is for people who either work as a service provider or maybe are involved in a volunteer group or a commission, to kind of see what they have observed working with Quincy residents, because the perspectives might be different. We're hearing such great things from city staff about all of the ways in which they are working to make sure information is getting out there and that they can help someone who might walk in and need help, but they can't communicate their needs. And so, but the city might feel like it's doing a great job in that area, but we need to hear from the residents as well to make sure, okay, so this is what we're trying to do, but what have you seen in your needs? So that's why we designed the survey to have kind of those two channels, one for the service providers and then the other for the residents themselves.
How many actual questions, Alexis, on the survey?
Oh gosh, so that's a lot of the questions. I want to say there's no clear answer because it depends on how you answer some of the questions.
Okay.
Like if you say yes to one, it might bring you to another versus skip a question. But about 10 questions.
No, all right. So it's not a
Oh
lengthy.
no, it's not
And-
lengthy, and there are only a couple of required questions. We just want to make sure, like, are you a Quincy resident, and things like that. But otherwise, the questions are, it's you don't have to answer the open response ones. You can kind of answer what speaks to you. But obviously, we would love as much feedback as we can get through that, because it really, we've gotten such good information from the city, and we really want to hear from the residents as well.
Can you just talk briefly about the logistics of the survey? How do people take it, and how do they access it? And, what is the timeline for it?
Sure. Okay. So we have 5 links for the survey because we have English, we have simplified Chinese, traditional Chinese, Vietnamese, and Spanish. So 5 different links that I believe went out in a press release. I might ask Melissa to speak to that a little bit in a moment, but it went out through the mayor's office, and I believe also has been kind of pushed out through other various channels with service providers and whatnot. And we've asked them to kind of share. But I might ask Melissa to kind of speak a little more to that, because I know that she arranged for the press release.
Sure. Yeah. Go right ahead, Melissa.
Yeah, so there's 5 links, each with their own respective language, and we had to do it that way for accessibility purposes, actually. And again, a big kudos to the Barrett Planning Group for their research on how to do this in the best possible way for accessibility purposes. That's all part of the learning process. So we were trying to learn how to do this while implementing the same thing at the same time. So, Joe, will you be able to share the links on the screen of this video? Okay, great.
Absolutely. We'll put those up for folks to access while we're putting this together, for sure.
Wonderful. And the other thing is, if anyone needs a paper copy of the survey, they can reach out to me at the planning department, and my number is 617-376-1053. Anytime Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30, and I'll be able to let them know how they can obtain a paper copy of the survey.
Okay, great. I wanted to bring Judy in, from the Barrett Planning Group, owner of the company, obviously, to talk a little bit about past successes, Judy, if you could, when it comes to putting these types of programs together for municipalities.
I've been remarkably quiet. This isn't my style. So, we're planners. That's really what we do. And a lot of our work, in one way or another, touches on community needs assessments. One of the I think, gratifying and interesting aspects of this project has been the initial piece of this was to just sort of go out and find out what's going on across the country in terms of communications access planning, needs assessments. And I have to tell you, Quincy's really kind of cutting edge on this. There aren't a lot of cities that are doing this. There are language access plans that are simply based on tables that one can draw from census reports. But that doesn't tell the whole story. And so I think the beauty of this project is the amount of kind of outreach that's happening within the community to folks who may have communications access barriers, as well as the city staff, who I think, as Alexis pointed out, seem very earnest in their desire to serve residents. And I think one of the successes of this project will be the extent to which the confidence of city staff can be elevated, and to know how to get resources that they need to deliver services to people for whom English is either not their first language, or people who have disability issues. This is not the kind of project you do every day. And it's not the kind of project you would necessarily, put inexperienced people on. So I just want to point out that while Alexis, who's kind of leading the survey and the interview process right now, is on this call, we have 2 other people working on this, one of whom is Quincy's own Fiona Coughlin, who couldn't be with us this morning because she's serving one of our clients in another community. But Fiona really led the initial research on this to kind of find out what's going on across the country. And we were just fascinated to see how little was going on with this. So it's a big issue, and it kind of touches us because as planners, we are fundamentally committed to making sure that everyone has an equitable opportunity to participate in society. And and communication is such a huge part of that. When you don't account for that, you're basically disenfranchising people without necessarily intending to, but that's the effect. So it's an interesting project. It's fun for us.
Would it be fair to say that this will serve as a model, for other communities, maybe of similar makeup and size as Quincy?
Oh, I would hope so. I certainly would hope so. We're learning a lot on this. We're all English-speaking planners. We're not necessarily proficient in some other language, but we're curious people. So we like to ask a lot of questions, and I think that for me, it's been an eye-opener to see, given how long limited English proficiency has been a conversation topic in planning and public policy in the United States, how little has been done in terms of actually understanding the needs of a community, as opposed to pulling raw data off of census tables. It doesn't tell you the whole thing. You have to talk to people in whatever way you can.
Sure. Melissa, in terms of implementing the ultimate, plan when it is fully developed, how is that going to unfold, if you will?
We are working with the mayor's office, and Chris Walker has been incredibly supportive of this project. So we look forward to, once we have the final version from Barrett Planning Group, to working that out and figuring out where we'll go from here. But the ultimate goal right now is to hear from all the stakeholders and really put together an accurate reflection of the community into this plan. And I also just want to take a moment to recognize if there was a dream consultant to work on this project, I am super fortunate to be working with Barrett Planning Group. Judy Barrett does a lot of trainings on community engagement for planners in this field, and I've been fortunate to attend a couple of her trainings, and so if ever there were the best possible consultant to pull into this project, it would be Barrett Planning Group. So I just wanted to give them a shout out for that and boost the confidence of Quincy residents and who we're working with on this project as well.
So will the results of the survey be made public at some point?
Absolutely.
Okay. And Nina, will this require any action on the city council part to implement?
If there's appropriation requests or any budgetary changes, then yes.
Okay. Now, obviously, at least in the school department, Quincy is a majority population, and in the city as a whole, there's at least a 30% Asian population. Will there be specific efforts made to reach out to that community?
There are, yes. So Barrett Planning Group, actually, in addition to providing the translated services for the survey online, they had also converted those into hard copies as well. And we're working in partnership with amazing community advocates. We have Mai Du from the Walloon Kung Fu Academy. She's an incredible activist in the community, has a lot of great relationships and ties to Quincy residents from the AAPI community. So we're working with her to get hard copies out in a safe manner, obviously, during these times, to those who maybe don't have access to technology. And we're also working with ACDC, their Asian Community Development Corporation. They're the ones that do the nonprofit affordable housing across the city. They have the resources within their nonprofit as well to do physical, survey drops to folks, again, who don't have access to technology. And then a third partner who's also working with that effort is BCNC, Boston Chinatown Neighborhood Center. They're the nonprofit that operate both here and in Boston to do city services with youth and with families who have English as a second language, particularly immigrant families. And so all three of them just have phenomenal experience in community outreach, community relationship building, and because they already have rapport, specifically with the AAPI community, with the services they've offered to date, I think they can use those relationships to make sure that they're engaging them and explaining the importance of this survey to, again, to Melissa's point, get the most engagement and the most accurate response possible. So we're really excited. They've already hit the ground running, and they're going to be going out this weekend, and they've got a bunch of volunteers as well in their organizations to go out, again, as safely as possible to make sure that we can try to get as many responses as possible.
Sure. Melissa, at some point, do you think that community development block grant funding might be used to implement some recommendations that come out of this program?
I do think that's a possibility, and all of this is going to fold right into our annual action plan for the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development.
Yeah. Now, what do you think what have you learned so far, I guess, that you didn't know about the city? And this is just for anybody. And what do you think you may learn, going forward?
I think what was really encouraging, like I said in the opening, was hearing what all the different departments are doing and trying to bring that information inward so that everyone knows what the best practices are, and then to help all those departments in the areas that that could be strengthened. Being in the planning department, I didn't know what other departments were doing, and so I found it really enlightening to hear, what one organization might be doing as opposed to another department. So really being able to pull all that together, and each department really has, they serve different needs. And so what one department is doing might not make sense for another, but if we could all kind of take this opportunity, as Barrett Planning Group is helping us do this research, that we take that information and use it effectively.
Sure.
I would add too, I don't think there's a day that's gone by in the last maybe 4 days that Alexis hasn't said to me at some point, Quincy's like a really amazing place. And and I'm just really, you guys deserve a lot of credit. Most of our clients are municipalities. It's kind of been my life for 33 years as local government. And so we've kind of seen a lot of different places, both in Massachusetts and beyond. And I think the enthusiasm of staff, the city staff, to be good public servants you don't always find that everywhere. So something good is happening in Quincy. And I guess in some ways I'm not just telling you this so you feel better. I'm really very sincere about this. Something good is happening there. The fact that you're even doing this project says a lot, given that so few people across the country are even paying attention to this issue. But I think we've just really picked up kind of a sense of what it means to be a good public servant from so many of the interviews that have been conducted. And so I just want to make that point. I think it's important for you guys to hear it.
Alexis, curious, how did you determine the 5 languages? I know that Mandarin and Cantonese are obvious, but how did you determine the 5 languages that the survey would be conducted in?
So the city's 2020 language access plan discussed the top languages, and also just through census data of we originally were going to do the top 3 languages, and then in consultation with which would have been Chinese because of with Mandarin and Cantonese, often the written script, my understanding is that someone who speaks one can read the other. But then when we were in consultation with our the translators, they said, well, often actually, I hope I don't mix this up, Mandarin they more often read the simplified script, and Cantonese more often reads the traditional. So they recommended that we actually do those 2. So 2 separate translations. So we did that. And then, so Vietnamese and Spanish were the other of the top 3. So that's what we went with.
Okay. All right. So the survey runs through January 19th at noontime. What happens after that?
So we're actually going to be meeting with some city staff on Friday the 15th to discuss kind of what the survey is looking like, what we've heard from the interviews, just kind of a check-in point. But so originally we were going to have the survey wrap up that day as well, but just, we really felt like having another weekend, because oftentimes people are busy during the week, to give people an opportunity. And then when we heard that these volunteer groups wanted to go out and do some in-person surveys, as Nina said, as safely as possible, we just, we can't pass that opportunity up. So that's why we extended it to Tuesday, and we will look at the results, kind of see if there's any big differences between what we've heard from, say, city staff versus service providers in the community versus residents. And if there are differences, kind of look at why and what sort of action recommendations need to come from that. And so that's a plan. The survey results, as Melissa said, yes, they will be public. And any community engagement results that come of this will be in our final report, either within the report or in an appendix, but will certainly influence our recommendations.
Yeah. Do you know about how many surveys do you feel you need to have to get a kind of a good grasp as to what's going on?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. I mean,
Can I
yeah,
jump in on that?
yes, please do.
I think that this question comes up all the time in planning work. How many surveys do we need to have a representative sample?
Right. Yeah. A percentage. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and my experience with this is surveys are not really so much about giving us scientifically gathered statistics, but creating an opportunity for people to participate. And I think if you look at it that way, then every survey is valuable, and every survey sheds light on something that perhaps we didn't know. So I'm not trying to make light of your question, but I think that's the spirit within which we all should be looking at these surveys, because it's not scientifically administered.
Okay.
SurveyMonkey inherently is not scientifically administered. So let's just take all this participation and draw from it what we can, because there will be lessons to learn.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll look forward to that. Anything else that we think we should add right now? We should probably recap again how to take part in the survey, just to let folks know about that.
So the survey links will be revealed here on this video, as well as you can reach out to me, Melissa Pond, at the Planning Department, 617-376-1053 for access to a paper copy if necessary, or with any questions or comments about the project.
Great. Nina, anything you'd like to add right now?
I'm just super grateful. I'm really excited. Judy, when you were commenting about how amazing Quincy is, I was kind of a little bit like, yes, no, I know. No, but, joking aside, this is something that, again, has been a deeply, deeply important, passionate topic of Melissa's for quite some time. And, it's super important to me as well. And so early on when her and I were able to have these conversations, and then to see what she's done with it and bringing in, these two remarkable people here and folks that I haven't met within the Barrett Group, working with them to make this a reality. I mean, I'm so thrilled. And obviously, Melissa had mentioned Chris, but, the mayor's office has been really supportive of this effort and making sure that, we're able to do this work, and then finding community partners also to join in on this. It's such an incredible effort, right, of collaborative efforts, and for each of the departments to also jump in and want to give their feedback and want to provide their support to this too. It just is, it's an incredible thing, to Judy's point. It's just, it's a testament, right, to true public service, and to see so many people in the community come together to do that, especially right now, right, with everything that's going on. Like, it just is, it's really inspiring, and I'm super, super excited. Yeah, I'm thrilled to see what's going to come of it.
Well, we're happy here at QATV to be one of those community partners to help you get the word out. Hopefully we've done that, and hopefully we can continue to follow this in the future. Feel free to reach out. We'll be happy to help however we can.
Thank you,
Thank you
Joe.
so
And
much.
I also want to thank Council President Liang. She mentioned her passion to pursue this in her inaugural address as Council President, and that's when these conversations began. So thank you, Councilor Liang, for all your support on this project.
Very good. Thank you all. Really appreciate the time, and we'll catch up again in the near future.
Thank
Thanks,
you
Joe.
very much.
Thank you, Joe. Stay well.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.